Countdown going.
What's wrong with the chicken? The other white meat. No, the other white meat. All these chemicals in it, full of parasites and bacteria. The chickens are on drugs. You know that they actually put a Prozac-like chemical, the active ingredient Prozac they put in chicken.
So what about free range?
Free range chickens. Free range chickens just means there's no gate. They're using free range as kind of a trick now. They opened up a door that the chickens go out. They got about this much space. They go back in, back to where you live for 49 days, and now you're free range.
All rights reserved. All rights reserved.
Some toasted almonds, but these are raw. These are raw. So I'm just going to add these in. Almonds are great for
Greetings.
cardiovascular. They're also
Thank
a
you.
great source of not only protein, but your amino acids. You got to have a broad spectrum of amino acids. People always say, well, if you don't eat meat, where are you going to get your protein? You heard that question before?
All the time.
Do you know that's not even a legitimate question? Do you know why? Why is that not a legitimate question? There's protein in every living plant. Everything is made of protein. All cellular material is made of protein. The question that they would ask if they really knew what they talking about, and not just reciting what the herbs might say. The question they would ask is, where are you going to get your essential amino acids? And that's a good question. To which your answer is, I'm going to get it at the same place the goat, the cow, the sheep, and all the rest of the animals got their essential amino acids. If you ask the cow, where did you get your essential amino acids? What's the cow going to say? Grass. Boo. If you ask the goat, where did you get your essential amino acids? What's the goat going to say? What's the chicken going to say? What's the turkey going to say? We just have too much fun here. Stop. They're going to say, I get it from where nature put it. And nature put the essential amino acids in the seeds and in the grains. It's a primary place to find them. So that's why we do things like sesame seeds and all different kind of things. And sesame oils. Seed oils are a great place to get your essential fatty acids. Flaxseed oil, flaxseed are a great place to get it. So
All rights reserved.
Some people
All
just
rights-
know they can save hundreds on car insurance by checking all state.
Hold up. All rights reserved. All rights reserved. This is the Tommy Cole Show. I am so excited about my guest today. I don't even know where to start, but I'll start with his name. His name is Keidi Awadu. He's a career journalist, okay, in print, broadcast, and documentary filmmaking. Having now written 30 books on Pan-African development, health, cultural consciousness, technology, and investigative research. He is also a host. Are you still hosting the daily webcast on Lib Radio, LIB Radio?
We are just about to begin our 23rd year of broadcasting, so I'm still doing it 6 days a week.
Awesome. So you guys, I'm going to put the name. It's libradio.com. We're going to put that in here so you guys can joke. Okay, I'm just too excited. I got to hold on. libradio.com. Let me put that here. Definitely support this brother. Okay, so have you written more books? This is the bio I got off of Google. This was from 2016. I know you've probably written more books since then.
Actually, as we speak right now, I'm preparing to release one of 3 books over the next 2 months at the most. 2 books are coming out this month. One of them, maybe in about a week. Those will be numbers 34, 35, and 36.
You're incredible. You really.
Oh, no. Excuse me. 53 has been published. 54, 55, 56 are coming out. So, yeah, well over 50 books now.
You are amazing. Can I just, you know what? You also have a workshop where you assist people in writing their books, right? Don't you have that?
That's right. The workshop is from the very book that really kind of launched this level of pushing high quality books out. The book is called From Pen to Power, 90 Days to Write and Publish Your Book. So if anybody's got a good serious idea of making their mark on the world and making that permanent and intergenerational record of how we contributed to furthering society, get with your brother. 90 days from when you decide to start, your book goes to the printer.
I need to do that this year coming up. I've been procrastinating that. I've been wanting to do it for well, not many, but a few years. I've been wanting to really get into that.
I look forward to being on that magnificent journey alongside you, my beloved sister.
So, yeah, I have about 3 books I need to get out.
Awesome.
So I haven't even done the formal intro to the show, so let me do that. Hi, greetings, everybody. This is the Tamiko Show, and thank you so much for joining in. This is Brother Keidi, and I've been wanting you to come on this podcast for a good minute. You are just an amazing resource, griot, everything. Let me tell you how I met Brother Keidi. Brother Keidi was one of the highlights of, I think it was called the Black Consciousness Convention. What was it? At Cal State Long Beach.
That's right.
I used to go to Cal State Long Beach, and they used to have what I think it was called the Black Consciousness Conference.
That's right.
Every year. And they've had so many amazing people. Like they had Dr. Francis Cress Welsing one year. They had brother, oh my God, please don't tell me I'm forgetting his name, Khalid Muhammad.
Abshay.
They had everybody there. I met Brother Kwame Ture. I've met so many amazing people at this Black Consciousness Conference that they had at Cal State Long Beach all through the 90s, right? So Brother Keidi was there. And you weren't even on the chef thing publicly yet. You were a researcher, and I found that amazing and fascinating. And that's what even kind of motivated me to do a podcast, because I wanted to dig deeper and just have topics that people might find interesting that I could do some research on. So one of those inspirational factors. And another reason I've been wanting you to come on here, I don't know if you want to get into this. I don't know. I mean, you have so many things to get into. But one of the things that I thought about with you, and I'm going to reorder everything too, is this whole Diddy situation. I know, how does that connect with you, right? Because you're known as the chef, but I know you from doing research, and everything that's coming up now, you were talking about 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago.
That's
and it's
right.
all still relevant, all of it. But you were one of the first ones that really exposed the hip hop, the deviousness of them infiltrating our hip hop culture and who exactly was doing that. You broke all that years ago. So I was wondering what your thoughts were on what's going on right now with the exposure finally of all the hip hop. I don't even know what word. COINTELPRO.
Chaos. No, in the book, the subtitle of the book was called Rap, Hip Hop, and the New World Order. And the subtitle puts it right in context what we're seeing today: planned chaos in youth music culture.
Right.
So what we're witnessing now is evidence of that planned chaos, which starting to write in the early 1990s. I think 1993, my first thesis came out on the subject. It was called the Trojan Horse Analysis, 12 recurrent negative themes in popular rap and hip hop videos. And that essay, which actually made quite a mark, I had a lot of people citing that document as why we need to be cautious about protecting, not only protecting our culture, cultural integrity, protecting our music, but as I further espouse within the document and have verified this many books and documents later, we have to protect our childbearing age population by all means necessary. And with this infiltration of the youth music culture, which is dynamic, we now know as hip hop, the enemy of us all was able to get a direct access to influence the lives, the lifestyles, and the patterns of behavior of our childbearing age population. And the evidence of why we should have been concerned at that time is really right now before us, as we've seen a devastation of our demographics, our fertility, and our childbirthing. I'm sure that'll come up in today's conversation.
Absolutely. I'm putting your Keidi Obi Awadu. Also, I wanted to know, and I'm pretty sure I've asked you that back in the day, but how did you learn that information? How did you even know that?
I was on the front lines. I was a direct observer of it. I, at the time, was really kind of 2/3 of the way through a 30-year career musician. As a career musician, I played with a lot of different groups, many, not a whole lot of celebrities. I did play with a lot of Jamaican celebrities. Reggae became my specialty at a certain point. But being right there on the front line and coming from an era when black music, African music on a global scale had a high degree of integrity. And I grew up in the era, our first exposures to were groups like, Cannonball Adderley and Miles Davis, and so many of these classic jazz figures that were my father's generation, passed them to his sons. We grew up on Motown. We grew up on rock and roll music, from Jimi Hendrix to James Brown, from the OJs and Temptations. One of my favorites was always, I can't remember, Felipe Wynne and the Spinners, and Marvin Gaye. We grew up on music that had such integrity. It had such integrity that when a man or a young man, childbearing age man, wanted to relate to a woman, one of the ways he would get to her heart was he would start reciting some of these lyrics to these songs, or hum or sing these lyrics to the song, and the song would immediately trigger in the object of his or the object of her affection, would trigger these deep binding sentiments. And when hip hop first came along, hip hop was a voice of urban youth. It was, I believe, KRS-One called it our CNN. It might have been Chuck D that said that. It was a voice of urban youth telling the world, we're here, we have a perspective, we aim to change the generations. Unfortunately, the enemy of us all, who had been studying us since the 1930s to figure out how to control our thriving and our demographic growth, they saw that vehicle and they seized it and snatched it. They infiltrated it with a lot of these people who are now being exposed, and some of them have yet to be exposed, and I exposed a number of them in that book, Rap, Hip Hop, and the New World Order.
Let me see if I can find out. While we're talking, I'm going to see if I can find a cover of it. What was it called? Hip Hop? I forget.
Rap, Hip Hop, and the New World Order. I actually have it on my desktop. If you want to see it, I'll need to switch it and then come back to the settings and turn my green screen off. And so there, you seeing the book right now.
I got you. There we go.
Rap, Hip Hop, and the New World Order. The subtitle, Planned Chaos in Youth Music Culture. And you can see right on the cover, a little hard for me to kind of switch around right now, but you can see Baphomet, the image of Baphomet, the satanic image, the pistol pointed right at you who are reading this. And then there are also some images of the degradation of our childbearing age females that unfortunately became a significant element of the deviant culture as it continued to spread amongst our people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would say that you, and I would even say C. Dolores Tucker, were really trying to make it known at that time. But, I will tell you, when C. Dolores Tucker was speaking on this, initially I was understanding where she was coming from, but then I don't know if it was because of the way the media interpreted her, or if she switched what she was trying to say. But initially she was really saying a lot of these things back then about how it was degrading and how a lot of the music was being anti-woman and just anti-community and things like that. And then I believe it was probably the media that flipped her words and made her seem like she was anti-youth, because I remember as a youth, I thought that's where she was coming from. And I was like, she's out of touch. She don't even know what she's talking about. That's not what hip hop does. But then Coolio, rest in peace, took me up to Def Jam West. And Paul Stewart, shout out, and he'll be on our show too at another point, not tonight.
Mm-hmm.
He was an exec, and I did hear the conversations that were being said. Now Candace Owens is bringing it all forth.
Mm-hmm.
Candace Owens has said publicly in written texts on Twitter X about it, which she said basically the CIA infiltrated hip hop, and they had Diddy and others come and purposely destroy hip hop, and publicly acknowledging it now, like we're just saying. Now we're seeing it in real time in the news, but Candace Owens putting her stamp on it. I was a witness to, her explaining, she said they made these false idols on purpose who were I knew they were from the prison industry because they were pushing the prison whole little situation on the youth. They wanted the youth to get involved in, like we were just saying, degrading behavior, relationships. And I will tell you, thanks to some other people who are on YouTube who have been presenting information on a higher level, I've been dehypnotized. Sure, I'm still not dehypnotized because it's really been embedded in me, but I know for many years I was like, I'm a B girl until I die. I'm a B girl. Even though throughout the years, just being in the school system, education system, I've seen how the youth have, like how they communicate with each other has gone completely to pit. I remember the first time I heard a youth call a young lady in the halls, a B word. And I was shocked out of my mind. I was like, oh my gosh. And this was like 1999, 2000. And it's just ridiculous now. We have some comments here. I think I should tap in. Let's see. A star for Coolio says the meat and dairy industry is full of animal abuse and they only arrest those trying to expose it. All right. We're going to get into that. All of that too, but one thing at a time. I was excited to have you here because for many, many years, I kept all the books you published on that information. It's just unfortunate, when you move around, people don't respect your books as I do. Thank you, Star for Coolio. Here to support me. Go, thank you. Let's see. Hemp seeds have the most amino acids and best balance of essential fatty acids.
Hey, you got a well-informed audience. They picked up on the video that you shared and really sank into that. Congratulations to you, and congratulations to your audience for being so wise and well-informed.
Hemp seeds do have the most. Okay, thank you. Kwame, yes. I was thankful I was able to meet Kwame Ture before he passed. Yes.
I say, praise be his eternal name. I got an opportunity to spend a full day with Baba Kwame Ture at San Francisco State University. He and I were there both speaking at a conference, and words cannot describe what an elegant, dignified, wise man he was. Everyone I've ever known who met him and spent any time with him would always say he stunned you by showing so much interest in the essence of your humanity. That is a good human being. Kwame Ture, may his name live forever, continue to inspire us to do better. The ultimate penumbrant Pan-African, that was Kwame Ture.
Yes, sir. I can concur that. I'm thankful I was able to meet a lot of our elders in their time before they passed. I wasn't able to meet Dr. Amos Wilson. That would have been
very few people that I know ever did meet Amos Wilson in person. He didn't travel a lot. He didn't get out beyond New York City. But Amos Wilson undeniably made a huge mark on a whole generation of Black nationalists and Pan-Africans.
Yes, sir. So I had an album named, I still do, an album called Vows, okay? Victims of White Supremacy. And I had the above ground album, and I have an underground album where I use samples from you. You have mentioned about, man, it's just so deep how prolific you were in the 90s, were in the 90s about what's happening right now. You had said, I had got a quote from you, and it's in my laptop, but we don't have that time right now. But you had said something like, the very thing that will have us going to concentration camps kind of thing. Like you were saying, the thing that they get us into will be the same thing they trick us with, and that we'll be following along with it unknowingly or knowingly. We'll willingly go. Like we won't even know what's going on. Let's see. Star for Coolio says, Coolio spoke on this. He definitely did speak on this. I did one of his final interviews, rest in peace. And Coolio was banging so hard, I got a little nervous. Okay. I didn't expect him to come with all the information that he came with. He really, in his last years, I guess, was really fed up with all the crap he was seeing behind the scenes too. So on the podcast we did, he spoke on how, you know, he says, you know how you see the Ice Cubes and the Snoops and the this and the that, but you've never seen a documentary on me, have you? And I was like, that is weird because you have won a Grammy and you have done international touring, like, you know, and I said even Tupac and Biggie never made it out the country, you know. But so the fact that there were no biographies or documentaries on Coolio was really, he was sad, you know, he felt hurt a bit about that. But he also was fully aware of why he wasn't. And that's why he banged on my podcast. Y'all go on and check that out sometime. I was very honored that he came on my show. We've gone, you know, we went back many years, 94. So I'm very thankful. You know, I called him the day he passed, around the time he must have passed. And for days before that, I was feeling like it was something was saying, call him. And I just was procrastinating because he had like a lung issue, like asthma really bad. And I was going to bring him some lemon ginger tea. It's not funny, but, you know. But anyways, I just think of all of you, Julio, all the people that I admired in the days and how you guys really were very prolific about all the information. But literally people weren't even trying to hear that back then. You know, I don't think people were really open. You know, when Coolio took me to Def Jam West and I witnessed for myself the meetings where they chose to consciously pick people from prison to be the next rap star. And that's what Candace Owens was speaking on. They're admitting it now. I think they're admitting it now because they're going to get rid of hip hop, or they think, you know, corporate hip hop. I think they're going to get rid of it and move on to some other music, they think. But the foundation of all American music is Black people, right? I don't think I'm wrong about that. When I go back to gospel, when I go back to the blues and all that stuff, it really goes back to so-called Black people. I don't know what we're calling ourselves next year. But so-called Black folk created pretty much all American music. They even call jazz classic American music. I thought that was interesting. Classic American, huh? Anyway,
that's right.
We have some more comments. Peace, Daryl Mooney. Keidi, the legend. Greetings, brother. You've been on it. That's a fact. That's a fact. And I'm thankful for you and having been able to meet you, get to know you, and have.
We've been friends for many, many years, for decades now.
30 plus, like 30 something. And we both look quite nice.
Yeah, well, I was going to say 30 something. I must have met you when you were 4 years old.
I was probably like 19, 20, 21. I'm 52 now. So. All
right. Well, you wear it well. I just celebrated my 69th birthday and I'm still going strong. I did do my first set of push-ups today. And right now I'm doing 2 sets of push-ups. My first set now, 300.
See, I remember you were doing like a challenge and you still doing that. You do like these massive amount of push-ups, which is really incredible. 69, you know, I stopped counting at 63. You look exactly the same. So
well, we're doing the best we can. Right now, I'm on day 6 of a 56-day stem cell rejuvenation protocol. According to the hypothesis I put together, and I've done this once before, now I'm doing it with a group of people doing it together. I believe we have come up with what we can practically say is the fountain of youth, and it is stem cell activation, differentiation, and proliferation It's a little bit scientific, a little bit technical, but that just shows you the books that I've been writing for the last 2 years have now taken me to a high level of biosciences. And this particular set of studies is a third book I have queued up. And this one is all about bioregeneration. So for people who love science, come on with your brother. We're still getting better and better.
I must say that's a fact. Look at this brother. Always been handsome. Look at this. All right. So you have a book called Furiously Vegan, 21 Steps to Restore Youth Vitality. I just want to show some of your book covers.
Mm-hmm.
I have several of your books. So is this a kind of like, not a cookbook, but is this more of a motivational 21 steps? So do you talk about specifically dietary things or just a whole holistic thing, like in regard to that?
You know, people have asked me over the years, why don't you write a biography? I don't have the vanity right now to do a biography. But in every book that I write, in the early parts of the book, I list, in the early chapters, I write my qualifications for writing this book, which then goes into my past qualifications. This particular book, 21 Steps, is a kind of an owner's manual for, in this case, a male who's now moving into his senior years. This book was published in the winter of 2021. Moving into my senior years, I wanted to leave, you might call a trail, breadcrumbs, so that other brothers following me would be able to follow that pathway. And the book turned out really, really well. It's really all about adopting a strict vegan lifestyle as an ideal way to continue to be healthy into extended years, a long, healthy lifespan. And I'm real proud I don't go to the doctor for any reason at all.
Okay, it's probably wise at this point.
Yeah, at this point, it's very wise to stay away from them.
You know, no judgment. You know, you folks do what you got to do. All rights reserved, y'all. This is the Tom and Cole Show. Right? This is all about the opinions on the show. They actually do reflect what I think, but you know, we'll keep it here. All right, so this is another one: transforming soul food for the body, mind, and spirit. Suicide. I have that video. I have how do I explain suicide?
It's a documentary film.
Yeah, I love that. I've shown that to people. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
inspired people to at least for a moment change their diet too. Transforming soul food. I want to read this. It says suicide is a raging epidemic within the United States, and the standard African American diet, so-called soul food, is the epitome of deadly cuisine. So in this book, you give, for those who may still want to have a hankering for mac and cheese or pork chops, you give them a healthier, tasty option.
The first part of the book, I take the 20 most popular soul food dishes, and I break them down for the ingredients and show you how the soul food that we have adopted as a cultural modality of diet and nutrition has unfortunately led us to early graves in many, many cases, to chronic diseases, non-communicable diseases. And then I switch directions. So beginning with chapter 4, I list my 40 favorite culinary herbs and spices. Now, at that point, the book turns from the researcher talking about why this food is making us sick and killing us at early ages to then with the chapter, my 40 favorite culinary herbs and spices. Now we put on the chef's hat. And after that, the book takes a whole different turn. It's transforming soul food for the body, the mind, and the spirit. And it closes with 25 of my favorite vegan soul food recipes. I love that book, and I highly encourage people. It's low price book. I highly encourage people get that book. Add it to your library, your lexicon. People will be coming to your house and saying, your food is the tastiest food I've had that I can remember. Why? Because you learned to use 40 culinary herbs and spices, all of which were beneficial to your bioregeneration and your cellular integrity. It's like magic.
I have cooked. Well, I don't know if we call it cooking, but I have used your recipes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, plenty of times. I'm not going to fib on here and say I'm vegetarian or vegan now, but
Mm-hmm.
I was for years. For years and years, I was vegetarian. And then for a small point, I became vegan. And next year, I would like to, I'm going through the menopause situation. So
Mm-hmm. I got you. You just holler at your brother. I got you. I got a
I need,
wonderful formula. I've had some women who've taken this going through the change of life formula of mine. Then I hear from them a month or two later, and they're complaining. They're complaining because, hey, I appreciate the formula, but I didn't want to get my period back. Their body actually rejuvenates, so the
wow.
menstruation cycle can, not in all cases, but the way the program is designed, it's designed to reverse the aging process. And if you had your menstrual cycle 5, 6, 8, 10 years ago, and you reverse back to that age, guess what? Your friend comes back.
I would definitely be. I'll be talking to you about that tomorrow. Speaking
Mm-hmm.
of tomorrow, and there's so many books, y'all. There's a lot of books. He goes into different things too, like futurism. We're gonna get into that too. Right now, brother Keidi, I'm actually teaching chemistry and physics, so I'm very excited.
Okay.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
it's a challenge for me. I do not have a degree in that. I have a degree in English.
Mm-hmm.
However, I really like chemistry and physics, and I like teaching it to kids so they'll feel motivated to learn more about and not feel intimidated by chemistry and physics. And that's why I'm
Mm-hmm.
also very happy you came on the show. Students kind of click in sometimes and try to see what I'm doing. So I want them to know about you, and I want them to order your books and your audios and just click in. Because once you tap into Brother Keidi, your life will change. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
did tell people about how you've helped people get rid of diabetes. Allegedly. Allegedly. I don't need people's.
Well, I help the body rid itself of diabetes. We don't have to hold back from saying that.
Okay.
We inform the body to do what nature designed it to do. If you and I say we're roller skating on asphalt, one of us hits a crack and takes a hard skid on the asphalt, it might peel back the top layer of our skin on our leg, our knee, or elbows. If we just keep it clean, if we just give the body the right nutrition, your body will repair that. That's what the body was designed to do. That's regenerative processes. So what we do, we tap into nature's flow, which gives us perfect balance. That's called homeostasis. We do it holistically. We do it without intervention, meaning no breaching the skin. I don't like needles. I don't like surgeries. I don't like doing any of that stuff. I don't personally indulge in any pharmaceutical drugs because I learned a long time ago, just keep scouring through nature and nature will give you what you need. I always say food is nature's most perfect medicine. And we have people like Dr. Sabi, Dr. Layla Africa, Queen of Fu, and others who have proven to us all we have to do is go to nature and nature will give us what the body needs to heal itself. That includes the metabolic disorders like hypertension, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases. That also includes cancer, kidney diseases, even non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Just give the body what it needs and watch its regenerative powers come into being.
Yes, sir. Just like when people say, like, say, for example, if someone smoked and then they stop smoking, they say your lungs can regenerate it, rejuvenate. Like you don't have to have a lung issue. You can actually heal your lung. Your body can heal itself if you allow it to have the proper. We have a bunch of comments over here. Let me get over here. Hold on. Okay, Starford Coolio says, I've been trying to interview Imam Jamil Alameen, aka H. Rap Brown. The system is now allowing him to speak. Yeah, they've had him on like 23-hour lockdown since the early 2000s. He was doing the works in Atlanta. I don't know if you know about that, but he was.
Yeah, we did have him on LIB radio years ago. A
Wow.
brilliant, brilliant interview with one of the smartest men of a generation.
Yeah, he was. He's still alive? They just have
That's
him on
right. But he's been
maximum.
unfortunately muzzled by the system that keeps powerful voices away from the rest of us who might be impacted, influenced, and disturbed to the point that we will radically try to change the system.
Mm,
And that's going on all around the world right now.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Like I had moved to Atlanta at one point in like 2005. 2006, and it was like maybe a year before it or two that he was arrested. And I was hearing in the community about the works. He was cleaning up Atlanta basically, and I guess that was not what they wanted at that time. They really wanted a lot of women in the strip clubs and, you know, doing sex work, and men to be, you know, gay.
Uh, gender dysphoric is the polite way of saying it.
Yeah, okay, no disrespect to, you know, whatever
Hmm.
the thing is, whatever, but it's not by accident that a lot of the dietary slash, how do I say, biological, socio, it's just so many O's.
Yeah, it's biological corruption. It's corruption of the way the Creator designed us to be living. We've been corrupted in so many ways that many of the people don't even recognize what we would call normal. In fact, they will attack you and I if we talk about being normal.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Like there's this clip going around, it's going viral of this young man, black dude, getting off an airplane, and he's got a crutch and he's trying to get in a wheelchair, and he's just barking at this girl. He's like yelling and screaming at the little young, you could tell she's like a young employee. And it was so irritating to see, because I'm thinking, you know what? I bet you a lot of people think that's normal behavior, like to be yelled at or screamed in that manner. It was really, really irritating. I was going to play that clip on here and have us talk about it, but I'd rather focus on the positive more so. Oh, we have more things. Hold on. Yeah. Uh, Einstein was a vegetarian. A star for
Hmm.
Coolio. Was he?
That's true. Hmm.
That. Let's see. I've filmed autopsies. Carnivores' intestines are full of fermented meat. Woo! They said when John Wayne died, he had like pounds and pounds of meat in his body.
Up to 70 pounds of impacted waste clogging up his internal tract. With Elvis Presley, it was said to be 30 pounds of impacted waste. The fact of the matter is, there's a significant proportion of the population walking around with these bulging guts. A bunch of that is impacted waste. There are methodologies and means of getting that out. And once you get that out, it's like it takes 10 years off your aging process. Once you just have one good serious detox and cleanse, removing that impacted waste from our digestive tract. If we don't do it, we significantly increase the risk of developing stomach or colorectal cancer, which is extremely painful. You know, one of the beautiful things about being my age is being youthful and vital. One of the worst things about being my age is I'm burying my friends and colleagues and allies that I've known for many years.
Indeed. You know, I will say, okay, partly why I stopped being hardcore like vegetarian was honestly, I had seen so many of my friends die. My Lemert people, a lot of them passed away all at once. And I think I got traumatized from that. I think like 12 in 1 year passed.
Mm.
It was in about maybe, what was that, 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. It was just like so many people. And I kind of became afraid, like maybe I won't do it right, or maybe I'm not eating the right nutrients and things like that. But I wanted to tap back in with you because it's urgent for me at this time to have some guidance in the dietary field. And I thought,
Hmm.
while I'm going on that journey again, perhaps you can motivate other people to get on that journey too. Here's some more. Let's see. Hey, Nappy Image. Greetings. Okay, Bomber League says, what about the prostate exam? Do we really need them to be up in our darkness?
Who put that name? Who put that up? What's their name?
Bomber League.
I throw a black fist in the air. I have for over 30 years been telling people that the PSA prostate specific antigen test is bogus technology. Now, about 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, I got a book, and I actually keep this book really close. Keep it on one of my bookshelves, because this is one I'm always talking to my brothers. My brothers are saying, Keidi, you got to get me on your radio show as soon as possible. I need to talk to black men about prostate cancer to get tested. The man who wrote this book, his name is Dr. Richard Ablin. The book is titled The Great Prostate Hoax. He says how big medicine hijack the PSA test and cause a public health disaster. I have been saying for 30 years that prostate-specific antigen test is a bogus piece of technology. I will never take it. And guess what? Not only did the author of the book, Dr. Richard Ablin, who discovered PSA, he's credited with the discovery of PSA, said he would never take the test.
Okay,
but
why?
also,
Why?
I'm sorry, why? Because the test it's overwhelmed by false positives. And also, the test begins a process that begins with the, what do they call it? They do a biopsy.
Yes.
And the biopsy actually begins the process by which your body and your immune system comes under such tremendous assault that you can start losing ground to it. Now, the latest in this assault called the PSA, prostate cancer diagnosis, especially among black men in America, is for over about 10 years, they have been prescribing chemical castration to men diagnosed, black men especially, diagnosed with prostate cancer. Now, it used to be, Tamika, that when a man was jailed for being a child molester or a rapist, one of the conditions of him getting out of jail or getting on parole was he would have to take chemicals that castrated him, that took out his desire to engage in sex. That's the same set of chemicals they are giving to black men in America diagnosed with prostate cancer in a very large extent. It's worse than people could even imagine. Just get the book. This is the man who discovered PSA, and he says the test is a fraud on a nation.
I believe that. Similarly, I know this is controversial, but I'm gonna just say it anyway. When I was having children, like physical birth, I was really studying because I've been a doula. I've doulaed for a couple of people.
Okay, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But I find so many things interesting that I move on to other things. But when I was studying about birth and labor and the woman's womb and things, I also was talking about suggesting to people not to get that. I forget what it's called when they poke the big needle in your stomach to find out what's going on with your baby, right? Do that, they're actually pushing into the sac and they're exposing the embryo or baby to all kinds of bad things. So more than likely your baby will have problems after they.
Is that the amniotic fluid?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They do a test. Like some people may have concerns about having a special needs child or whatever the concerns are, and they put this needle's like this big.
Mm-hmm.
All through the stomach and touches the baby. It pokes the baby while it's in your body. And that just never sounded right anyway.
No, it's not right.
But I would suggest that. Now I've had a woman or two, friend of mine, actually still go and do it. And then they told her she could have a glass of wine after.
Hey, I had this happen to two of my dearest friends over the course of the last 30 or 40 years. They did the amniocentesis, I think is what it's called.
It is.
And that one came back and told them that they had their child was going to be, no, wait, I'm thinking of someone else who did the amniocentesis, told her, your child is going to be mentally defective, going to be, we don't use the term birth defects anymore, but there was some genetic disorder, the child would not develop mentally correctly. She didn't believe them. She consulted her pastor of her church, and she had the baby. The baby turned out to be absolutely normal. I spoke with one other person a couple of years after that, had the same amniocentesis test, and she aborted the baby, not knowing that this test could itself deliver false positives.
Yeah, that's awful. And forgive me for cutting you off because you were about to say something else in regard to the prostate exam. And I unfortunately got excited and asked you why or something. But you were going to say something else with that prostate exam.
Yeah, I just say to men, it's all avoidable. It's all avoidable. But you have to create a lifestyle that takes you out of the risk of developing cancers. And the other part about it is for many men, prostate cancer develops so slowly that there's a greater risk of you dying from radiation therapy, chemotherapy, from the surgery, or from just the conditions of life when you've been chemically castrated, a higher, greater risk you die than dying of old age. In white men who are diagnosed with prostate cancer over the age of 65, their doctors tell them, just change a little bit of your lifestyle and go on over with your business. Don't go through the surgery. Don't go through the radiation, the chemotherapy, and don't take chemical. They don't even bring up chemically castrating drugs to them. So to my brothers, I say, come on, guys. Are we so gullible, so vulnerable, that anytime we challenge the world for our power back, that they can just come up with a rinky-dinky scheme? You've been had, you've been misled, you've been hoodwinked, you've been bamboozled.
So
Come on, guys. We can do better than this.
So they got us with the diet. They got us with, so the hip hop thing. So that really, I even for a moment today was about to be on some old, I quit hip hop. I'm not even going to write any more songs. I'm not going to perform anymore. I was so just emotionally just distraught with but then when I thought about it, I was like, this isn't new. I've been through this stuff. It's just exposed now. It's just public. But I didn't know about the so-called parties or whatever. But I mean, I heard throughout the years about plenty of different celebrity types that have had orgies and things. And grown folks do what grown folks do. Not my cup of tea, but who am I to judge? But when it goes into no, I can't get the record deal now because I don't want to join the party, or now all the sound waves have the same frequency on it. And that's another thing I do talk to my students about sound waves and frequency, and how sometimes some artists, they whisper things into the microphone, like you may hear, yeah, I love you, and then they whispering, hate yourself.
Yeah, subliminal implants.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, well, in the book, Rap, Hip Hop, and the New World Order, we address this whole spectrum of how this was turning into mind control. And ultimately, I came upon a definition of what was going on. I call it population wars, culture wars.
Teach.
Culture is the ultimate determinant of behavior, whether it be individual behavior or group behavior. And by impacting, influencing, and directing the culture of an individual, a family, or a people, you ultimately are guiding the behavior of that people. So when we look at the emergence of, and in the book I talked about Eazy-E and the rise of these 666 thugsters, of which Eazy-E claimed himself to be, which was a substantial part of why he was the first of the murders. He was the murder in 1995, and I'm proud to say my book was the first book to expose Eazy-E's death by 187. Eazy-E, the 666 thugsters, we talked about the degeneracy that was rising, and that was a hint of the rise of the quote-unquote gay rappers that we see have now carved out a prominent circle across that spectrum, and they're accepted within America's contemporary entertainment industry. So I'm not going to say any denigrating terminologies about them, but at the time I was writing that book, the idea of gay rappers was deeply in the closet or under covers.
Right. They wouldn't even have ever admitted that. But it's funny.
And there's one more I want to point out, because the most prominent of all of these thugsters who had a common theme of getting involved with law enforcement, which then tapped them into this group of lawyers, and the lawyers bridged them into ultimately the national security structure. I talked about one who was being portrayed as the Antichrist, and I showed a bunch of images from across the magazine covers, and we looked at that video. Murder was the case. And who is today the most prominent of that whole generation of thug rappers? You know who I'm talking about.
Bow wow wow, yippee yo, yippee yay, Snoop Dogg with the house. Yep.
I talked about Luciferianism. At that time, I'm saying by all indicators, this man is being portrayed, whether he knew it or not, he was being portrayed as a Luciferian, the false light of worshiping Lucifer. And now, is it no surprise that he is the most prominent one? You're going to see his face on television multiple times every day. Why is he so prominent when back in the early 1980s and mid 1980s, these guys were being called by the President of the United States and the FBI enemies of the state?
Yeah, that was the 90s too, the 80s and the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's funny you mentioned that. I was just talking about Murder Was the Case. I was on the set of that music video.
Did you see it in real time that it was promoting Luciferianism?
Yes, we thought that back then, but they tried to play around and say this is called horrorcore. So they brought out the grave diggers and Helter Skelter from the New York, the East Coast. They were trying to push that, and I just remembered, Biggie, this was not secret at the time. He had 666 tattooed on his knuckles. They don't bring those things up now because, he's been dead and all that, But I remember these guys. I remember asking one of those East Coast rappers, I said, why y'all seem like y'all like on this devil trip or whatever? This was like 96, 95, 96, 97. And I was told by, I think, was it Peter Guns? I can't remember which New York rapper it was. But they told me, well, this life is hard. Or I think maybe even Biggie said this in an interview too. This life is hard in Earth. And we feel like life is hell. And we should worship the God of this earth, which is supposedly what? Satan or Lucifer? Are they the same?
Yeah.
Different?
It's a big web. It's like a big spider's web. Now, back in the day, there was a book that came out by Sammy Davis Jr. called Why Me? And they had this incident that happened in California called the Manson murders, when it was connected to the making of the movie Rosemary's Baby. And this scenario, and I'm not going to describe it in too much detail because too much of it woven together and a whole lot of celebrity names come into this spider's web. But the Charlie Manson murderers killed Sharon Tate and Jay Sebring, her living husband partner. Sammy Davis Jr. in his book Why Me said that while he was on tour in London, he couldn't be there in California, or he would have been at that party where the Tate LaBianca or the Tate murders took place. He said because they threw the best orgies in Hollywood. That's what Sammy Davis Jr. said about his own self, his own life. He was in that camp, in that circle of Kabbalism that's produced this Luciferianism, Satanism, etc., etc. So now I was not surprised when I see that two of the most prominent and wealthy rap industry moguls, P. Diddy and now Jay-Z, got caught up in this web of all of these deviant behaviors connected to power circles. And if they're taking them down, P. Diddy has the ability to take a whole bunch of people down with him, or he gets locked up in a cell and gets I guess you would call nowadays, the Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, but I was just watching before I spoke with you to talk to you today. They're now trying to talk about throwing his case out because someone, I wonder who that is, recorded, you can't bring cameras into a court session. Somebody filmed his bail trial and some other thing, two different things. So now his lawyers are trying to get all the cases thrown out.
Well, Diddy didn't really come clean and name any names. He didn't try to take down any other people in public. So it could very well likely be they're saying, okay, Diddy, we're going to give you a technicality and out. And while his reputation may be ruined, I'm sure he'd rather have his reputation ruined than other parts of his mind, body, and or spirit ruined by going to prison.
Good point. I just figured he would probably be telling stuff behind the scenes.
Or not.
Everything on camera. They already have everything. They have all the tapes. right? And then
Mm-hmm.
allegedly they have witnesses who've already been speaking on that. So I mean,
Yeah. But when it comes to civil litigation, the guy's a wipeout. The civil litigation is going to keep coming hard and hard. And if it goes in front of juries, the juries are probably going to consistently find against Sean Puffy Combs and the likes. I stepped out of that whole arena a long time ago. I doing the best I can not to lose my faith. I wrote a book in August 2020. I hope you've heard of it. The book called Fade to Black, The Passing of a Great Race.
yes.
And according to the hypotheses of that book, African Americans have, from the year 2020, 45 more years before we essentially disappear as a people to be replaced by imitators. I saw an article today that talked about how the Kardashians and Jules or somebody like that and these other white women are now putting on bronze tans, uh, doing the what they call, there's a specific style of braiding they're doing, but they're essentially pasting up their butt and imitating the new black
Right.
woman in America. And even South Korean K-pop, they have appropriated black dance.
Oh yeah, Teddy Riley is actually he's the one that's producing it. Yeah, I work with a lot of children who are of Asian descent, and they love all that K-pop, and that's how I got really hip to some of the new artists through them because, and that's how I learned Teddy Riley is the one that's doing all the music behind pretty much 90% of the K-pop acts. Isn't that interesting?
Well, that was a wise move on his part. I have myself said that if hip hop became a half a trillion and now approaching $1 trillion global industry, while our people innovate, others copy what we do and take it to the bank and commercialize it, industrialize it. So I myself said if some of the urban youth that are doing these innovative dances and things really got their act together, they would set up a school and they would invite these wealthy Asian groups and Asian record companies to send your artists to our school, to our camp, and we'll teach them how to dance like us. They're going to do it anyways. At least our youth could get paid for it. I'm not mad at Teddy Riley for seeing that opportunity.
Yeah, also behind the scenes, the Jacksons too. At one point, Jermaine Jackson was going to manage me. That's another story for another day. But
Okay.
I should have done that. I should have not been so hasty in my choice not to have him manage me because quiet as kept, the Jacksons are all up in that too. All in Korea, all up in Asia, like they
Hmm.
like behind the scenes, writing songs, producing, managing. They doing all that. And I would have probably
Hmm.
been one of the songwriters. I should have done it. Sorry.
Well, they took their name and they branded it and they have kept rebranding it and escalating it. That is how wise people in the entertainment industry do. And when you can do that without having to engage in carnal activities with Satanists and Luciferians and criminals and thugs and intelligence agencies, it's a good thing.
Teach. Now, you know what? I will tell you, I did not want to do a lot of podcasts on that situation with Diddy, or I haven't done really much on Jay-Z or Beyonce or any of that. But I did do like a 6 hour, 6 part on the Puffy stuff because the angle I was taking was just the fact of the hypnotism and bigger than him. Just that whole 50th anniversary of hip hop. I knew that was bogus because to me, it wasn't 50 years. Okay.
Hmm.
Feel like they call it 50 years just to shut it down. Like, okay, 50, thanks, bye.
Yeah.
But
Or to cut it off from its roots because hip hop had roots. Hip hop emerges out of Jamaican styles.
that's
There
right.
was the DJ style, which really kind of innovated out of Jamaica. And if you look at Jamaica's music styles, you cannot disconnect them from their African roots. We're all connected. African mother continent connects us all. The sooner we get back to that fundamental understanding, the sooner we can then have the basis to recover our power wherever our power has been scattered around the world.
Now that was the next question. So now, okay, so everybody's exposed. Now what? That's what I was going to ask you.
We have
Okay.
to ask, where do we want to be in 50 years? Let's be clear. Today, as you and I speak, people of African lineage are the number one demographic group on the planet. We outnumber the Chinese. India is the largest nation, but if you combine the Indian nation at 1,400,000,000 people with their diaspora, which is only about 50 million, that doesn't equate our global population of, according to my estimates, 1.755 billion Africans on this planet. Now that we realize that, what can we do with it? Can we get our empire back? I think we can, but we're going to have a good plan.
Yes, people will have to be willing and open to recognizing the need to dehypnotize. That's a fact. Let's see what they're saying over here. Let's see. They wouldn't let Sammy Davis in the White House. Wow.
Yeah, Richard Nixon did not like Sammy Davis Jr. at all. He did have Elvis Presley in the White House. Some even speculated they gave Elvis Presley some sort of a CIA identity. I've never confirmed that to be true, and who cares really?
You know what? I've recently heard that Marcus Garvey was CIA. Have you heard
No,
that?
that's not ever going to be accepted to be true.
Okay. So I heard that. They said that like the ships were purposely that he bought was purpose. They knew they wasn't sending black folks nowhere. All kinds of stuff. I've heard all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's be clear. The CIA did not exist until 1947.
Okay.
The FBI didn't even exist when they targeted the Garvey movement in the early 1920s. FBI was not created. At that time, it was called the BOI, Bureau of Investigation, and a young lawyer became prominent as the BOI transitioned into the FBI, and that young lawyer we now know as Gay Edgar Hoover.
And now it's come out that he is really an octoroon Negro. What do you think about that?
I don't claim nothing. I don't claim that one. No way. No way.
Yeah, they said his family was warned not to mention that they were related to him at the time. But of course, after he died, whatever. But people, I've been watching documentaries. They're like, we're all, we black. But
well, when it comes down to it, everyone on the planet ultimately has one of us in the woodpile. So we are the progenitor genes for the human species around the world. So that would include the little deviant who carried a handbag and liked to dress up in fishnet stockings.
Well, he just reminded me of how they describe Diddy now. That's all. I just, they similar. Let's see what else they're saying. Diddy's victims, and they signed non-disclosure agreements. Celebrities have paid off Diddy. Let's see. Teddy Riley. Remember Guy? Of course I remember Guy. I love Guy. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite groups. Okay.
A group that had integrity. They wrote some really good music and performed great.
Yeah. Let's see. You say, I went to Korea with Coolio. Oh, okay. A star for Coolio. Okay. He does not have a star. As I think about it, a star for Coolio. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he never got a star on the Walk of Fame, but DJ Khaled did. What? Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Paradise is still, a very popular song. You know what I mean? It's hit like 1 billion on YouTube. Okay. Bomber League says, we too busy being on social media arguing 6.5 dozen, which is it? Knowledge keeps us from uniting. Knowledge keeps us from uniting?
Let's say incomplete knowledge keeps us from uniting. If you get the complete knowledge, it actually does just the opposite. Complete knowledge weaves together the web of culture, which becomes the pattern for our civilization development. And the ultimate power on this planet is wielded by civilizations. We are an African civilization, unfortunately, because we have been Stockholm syndromed. We've been convinced, too many of us been convinced, I ain't no African. I've heard some prominent scholars who are respected in the black community say, I ain't no African. We ain't no Africans. That's a real bizarre statement. And I always have to just step back and say, why is this person who is this accepted prominent scholar making a statement that is so blatantly contradictory towards the notion of sustained sovereign power?
I can tell you why, because I remember having this conversation even with Coolio. So a lot of people are coming into the understanding that a lot of black folks was here before Columbus, but even thousands of years. A matter of fact, the ones they call Indians, they're saying are us. That's what they're saying. So they're feeling like, from how I've heard it, just like how Indians, like they say the original Indians come from Southern Africa. That's what I've heard, right? Or seen on documentaries. Or like pretty much everybody came from the motherland and then expanded out. So they're saying that particularly black people in America, we are like once removed, I guess they'd say. They'd say we're African, like how Indians are, like how Samoans are African, right? Like how Hawaiians are African. They're saying black Americans are uniquely to this land because of the mixtures in the culture.
Yeah, unfortunately, the story is told very badly. And so because the story is told very badly, you can't get power when you believe a story that's only partially truthful. I don't necessarily want to go off in this pathway, but I did spend about 5 months editing the footnotes and the references to a book by Dr. David Imhotep, The First Americans Were Africans. He released the book 2 times. The first time he released it, he had done all his own references and footnotes in the book, and it wasn't very good. It wasn't very clean. So when he went to really release the book, I and another good associate of mine collaborated with him. She is a professional ghostwriter and helped him with the text, while I focused specifically on the references to prove his case. There were a lot of references, and it took me months and months to get all this cleaned up. But I do sign on to the book, The First Americans Were Africans, the volume 2 of the book, and that's by Dr. David Imhotep. He's since gone on to the realm of the ancestors, and that book becomes his living legacy. And the first Africans that came to the Western Hemisphere were at least 30,000 years ago, which was predated the Siberian route, what was called the Bering migration across this ice field between Russia and Alaska. That was about 12,000 years ago. Okay. But the oldest African relics that we have of Africoids here in the Western Hemisphere probably goes back to between 103 to 130,000 years, which would have put Africans very solidly across the Southern Hemisphere, or not the Southern Hemisphere, the South America, as well as put the migrations through Central America up into Mexico, eventually into the United States and Canada, where they then would have encountered the Siberian migration coming down. So there is a basis for understanding this, but a lot of our people have oversimplified it, and I just don't have a lot of tolerance for people who oversimplify complex stories.
We ain't African. So since you busting out books, bam! Pre-colonial Black Africa, I would suggest.
Sheikh Anta Diop, one of the great books, one of the great minds, great scientists of the 20th century. Sheikh Anta Diop.
Yeah, I would definitely get into that. Pre-colonial Black Africa was cool because it really did give me some understanding of how Africa was before the Portuguese comes. Now, a lot of people are getting this new insight or simplified "we ain't African" stuff from this cat, Dan Calloway. Have you heard of him? He's like the hot YouTube dude.
No, I will look for him and check him out. But I don't have a lot of patience for some of the New Jack scholarship. If you're writing a book and you got the references, I prefer to do things like that. I try to minimize my historical research from YouTube.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I'm just bringing info up and getting your opinion on stuff. Okay. Let me see. Where am I going with this? Okay. So that's where a lot of people are getting this newfound information. Matter of fact, even Coolio mentioned this guy on my show, Dan Calvin. And of course, Nutricide, Dr. Laila Africa. This is a good book. This book.
Now, if you hold the book right in front of your face, I think it will focus on the cover. There you go.
Okay, this book was good because of the fact that, and I take that with you aside, thank you, Chuaside, go check out Chuaside. Nutricide was good because it really talked about how even people's vocal tones, they're like the tone people talk to you in can really affect your liver. Okay, it can really
Mm-hmm.
affect you. Like I always tell my students, you have two ears, and you need to make sure that you're in a space where you're not being screamed and yelled at a lot because it can affect.
Mm-hmm.
And for those, before the Mayflower, okay, that's like Black Studies 101. That goes in a little bit on how America, was allegedly, when Black folks first came. I like this book. It's just a cool little book to live by. Okay, boom.
Mm-hmm.
The Secret Teaching of the Ages.
Ooh, Manly Palmer Hall. You're not supposed to have that book.
I know.
That exposes a lot of what we've been talking about today, these secret orders, Kabbalism, Luciferianism, and I cited that book extensively in a book that my book is called Secret Society. No, the chapter is called Secret Societies and Ceremonial Magic. And the book is called High Crimes of Murder. No, not High Crimes of Murder. It's called Conspiracies and High Crimes. But I did a wonderful chapter called Secret Societies and Ceremonial Magic. Once you understand what's there, you're going to look at a book like Rap Hip Hop and the New World Order, and you're going to see all of these little secret signs and icons and things that tap this into a deviant order that took power, stole the power from the ancient Nile Valley empires. These, what Manly Palmer Hall in his book calls the Scarlet Council.
Mm.
And these Kabbalists stole this order. We had originally designed these signs and symbols to give us meaning to life and to integrate us with nature. We thought we were humanizing them by teaching them. These ones who came into the Nile Valley Delta from the Fertile Crescent and the Mediterranean, the Greeks came in and they appreciated it. They went back home and they built the Temple of Asclepius in tribute to Imhotep. The Romans came in and burned the greatest library that existed in the world up to that time. And then this other group of refugees from the Fertile Crescent came in and they said, oh, that story is about us. They called themselves Hebrews, and they said they built the pyramids as slaves out of mud and stone.
Mm, 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 mm.
And they stole Christ. They stole it and substituted some mixed up, confusing Abrahamic religions for people to be impacted their minds and their souls. They essentially hijacked us spiritually and intellectually.
Jeez.
And a lot of our people are still trapped behind that wall of deception. According to my research, and this is very controversial, this idea of Judaism might only be about 300 years old.
Only 3?
Only about 300 years old. Now, when we talk about the Habaru, when we talk about the Habashah, the Habaru, the roots of the word Hebrew, now we can trace our people back in ancient lineage. But if we're talking about this thing called Judaism, many people have said it's only 300 or 400 years old. And even their scholars say that stories like the Exodus, which they say puts them in the history of the world going back 6,000 to 7,000 years, their scholars now say there is no evidence to suggest that any parts of the Exodus were true.
I tried to have that conversation with this Jewish cat at this job I had in Beverly Hills, and he stopped talking to me. He
had to stop talking or debate you in a scenario where your facts would have distorted or dismembered his myths, fables, allegories, and symbols. And when we look at the origin of those, there's a great book I would suggest, the Africans who wrote the Bible. I can't think of the author's name right now. One of my favorite books, The Africans Who Wrote the Bible, shows you the origins of many of these biblical stories go way, way back in ancient African texts.
Deep. You're so deep, brother. You're just so deep. Here we go. The Olmecs. And some more
Ashe.
proof for those who may go check this book out.
Who's the author?
Thomas, Thames and Hudson.
Mm-hmm.
America's First Civilization. This is the
Yeah.
My brother
One of my heroes, Runoko Rashidi, did a lot to expose the Olmecs to us. Ivan van Sertima, of course, was Runoko's Jegna, his main teacher. And there is a river that's passed from hand to hand, from generation to generation. Now we're asking and we're looking for the young people who are listening to this program today. Step up, stand up, take your place amongst the progression of our sustainable culture. As I reach for the stars, I always remember I stand upon the shoulders of giants.
Indeed. You know, I had an opportunity to build with Neely Fuller. I got a chance
Mm-hmm.
to talk to him quite a lot on the phone. Isn't that amazing?
I'm not really ever connected with Neely Fuller, so you probably know more about him than I do. He did make a statement that kind of put me off. I ain't no African. We ain't no Africans. I don't recover well when I hear people make that statement.
Oh, okay. Well, we had a big debate. Okay, so first, I don't know who connected the phone number to me. An elder from our think tank just was like, I don't know. He just respected our build at the time. So I started speaking to the elder on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Good.
He gave me Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's phone number.
Mm-hmm.
He was
Did you
like,
get a chance to speak with her as well?
oh, she was never home. Never home. But I had her number.
Mm-hmm.
He was her Jegna.
That's right.
He was her teacher, and I didn't know that until, he told me. And of course, I have the book, The Code. Y'all going to get the code. It's life-changing. But he did get debated. When he came to Los Angeles, he came to the bookstore, Esalen, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And, because he has some words in his book that were very upsetting to Black folk. He said that white folk are the smartest people on the planet Earth. And everybody was like, no, it's not. Yeah. They were arguing with this old 90-year-old man. This man is 90 years old. And it was like the entire bookstore fussed at him.
Mm-hmm.
But he
Yeah,
said,
I think I saw him at SO1, but I don't recall speaking up. I think I was just quiet because I was a little standoffish of the philosophies that it was putting. But I said at least give the elder his respect.
yeah,
He did earn the respect of the community.
You were there. We were both there. It was packed.
Yeah, it was
loud.
packed.
People got loud too. But his argument for saying that was, he said, if we're so smart, how did they outsmart us? And a lot of people were saying, because we came with kindness, we didn't expect them to come with shady business,
It wasn't our Asili, as Dr. Marimba Ani would put it in her book, Urugu, which is to me one of the definitive books from an African perspective about the clash of these civilizations.
Y'all better hear these books. This is books, okay? Also, this book helped me out. I'm not gonna lie. Krishnamurti, Freedom from the Known.
Okay, uh-huh.
Freedom from the Known. And I have that Gunnar Myrdal book downstairs in my bookcase.
No way.
Yes.
An American Dilemma?
I have that downstairs.
Have you read it?
Of course.
Page 167 through 170, their plan to eliminate us from America. That plan was began in 1937. The book was written in 1944. And just to paraphrase the beginning of it, if we forget about the means for the moment and consider only the quantitative goal, there's no doubt that the overwhelming majority of white Americans desire that there be as few Negroes as possible in America. If the Negroes could be eliminated from America or greatly diminished in numbers, this would meet the whites' approval, provided it could be accomplished by means which are also approved. And then 3 pages later, they started laying out, okay, here's how we can pull this off.
Gunnar Myrdal, y'all. Now, the reason I got the book was because I used to listen to your tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And you had one about the church. And I've definitely quoted this many times throughout the years about because this whole T.D. Jakes nonsense is growing up and all that. So I think I mentioned on a previous podcast about how the church ain't been no church in a long time since the communism scare times, right? The late 30s. Also, when the Nation of Islam started, also like I think like a few other groupings started in the late 30s. And so I think when I learned about Gunnar Myrdal from your tape,
Yeah, that was the workshop I did, and that was a serious research project called Minister Thou Art Bound, the dollar corruption of the black clergy in the U.S.
I got to re-get all of these books. And the thing about Brother Keidi's books about this information is they were like little booklets. They weren't like 300-page books or anything. They were probably like 50 pages, maybe
Yeah,
less.
those were the Conscious Rasta reports. I've since updated those and reprinted them in book style. And the ones that were smaller like that turned out to be 100 to 120 pages. Now I have 3 books coming out. And each of these 3 books coming out are between 200 and 300 pages. So I'm at a whole different level now. But we all begin someplace. And those
No,
Conscious Rasta reports were a very solid foundation.
those were brilliant, and I mentioned those because they were life-changing. They helped open my eyes a lot to symbolism and how to interpret and analyze the era, the hip hop that I was into.
That's right. And you've done brilliantly with it. I must congratulate you. Every time I see your work out there, I kind of secretly claim credit or just wrap my arms and embrace you because you're just a brilliant, brilliant giant. And as you reach for the stars, you're standing on the shoulders of people of my generation.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I have to. I mean, I have to. And I that's where these books that we have to work together to get going.
That's right. And we got to get literacy back as a strongly desired goal for young black people. We cannot lose literacy. If we lose literacy, we're going to lose everything. And right now, our literacy is terribly injured.
They're purposely dumbing down the children.
That's right. That's true.
There's a book, you guys. There's another book. We mentioned the books all through here. Dumbing Us Down. It's a book called Dumbing Us Down. I forget the author's name.
Is that the one by John Taylor Gatto? There's another one by a woman. I cite her in one of my upcoming books. The Dumbing Down of America is her book.
I've read some of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dumbing Us Down. Because all these books I read, that is Gatto. Yep.
John Taylor Gatto. I had a chance to interview him 2 times on LAB Radio. That was really quite an honor because he's a world-renowned scholar. He's in the realm of the ancestors now. I had 2 great interviews with him.
Dope. How did that? Gosh, man. I shouldn't be surprised, though. You're a man of everything. You're just amazing.
Well, I was very fortunate to have been in a certain position. This really begins, I did real well in high school. My parents were science-minded. My dad was a chemist as a career. And when I came out of high school, I didn't enroll in college, although I was an honored student all throughout high school. But what I did do was I lucked up and found a job in a biological laboratory at age 19. And since then, I've been strongly engaged in biological research.
Interesting. Had you ever thought about being a classroom or professor or any of that kind of thing?
I have been an adjunct professor, used to speak at historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, and at other schools. I've spoken at Ohio State, UCLA, USC, Howard University, Morehouse, a whole bunch of them. Right now, because I have been excluded and pinched and squeezed out of that process, and there's a war going on behind the scenes. A whole bunch of solid black scholars got pushed out of that whole circuit. Right now, my interest is reestablishing that in 5 universities on the motherland, on the continent. We've already sown those seeds there. We just got to get there physically and establish a permanent presence there. My books are taught in colleges across Africa. I'm proud of that.
As they should be. As they should be. I was wondering when you have the time to write all these amazing books. I have like 3 of your books down in my downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 3, 4. I think I have 4 books and a video, a documentary. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to get all your conscious Rastas back. I'm ordering all of those. Like, that's happening.
All right. We'll do it sooner than later. The bills are due.
I'm doing that like this weekend. Here's another thing. So, okay, I know I probably may have asked you this before, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember what you. So you were doing all this heavy, dope research about the music industry, and then all of a sudden you switched. Well, it seemed like that, like you switched into food. I think
Yeah.
you did tell me why, but it was. Can you go into
The-
that?
I wanted my research and the product I was putting out to actually have real, true impact on people's lives. And so that was why the focus on health, and of course, one of the shortest poems we love, Health is Wealth, that became a very primary issue for me because I'm writing these grand conspiracy books that nobody can do anything with. Black leadership is not prepared to even read the books. You know, I've met so many black elected officials, and like that book you talked about, Gunnar Myrdal's An American Dilemma, The Negro Problem in Modern Democracy, I've asked a bunch of them. I can name their names, you'd recognize their names. Are you familiar with that book? And they'd say yes. Well, do you know what they said in chapter 17 or chapter 7 about black fertility, demographics, and the future? And we realized they've heard of the book, but they've never read the book. The book is
Oh my God.
1,436 pages long.
Yes.
You got to be highly motivated to even read it, let alone to get it.
I
Now,
would
let me
never.
ask you this. Did you get the hard copy single edition, or did you get the two? Is it in two separate editions?
I got a hard copy.
Is it the green cover, the 1944 print,
No, I
the
actually,
1964?
yeah, I'm gonna go get it actually when we have a moment.
Yeah.
I
Well, that book has become a collector's item. They're getting more and more rare.
of course.
I have 4 collector's copy versions, one of which, because it's in pristine condition, no markings, and the original sleeve, is probably worth about $2,500.
You know, some of the most powerful books are starting to, when I look them up on Amazon and things, they really are like $500 and up now. That's why
Yeah.
that's why I went on and got all of these books. I need to I used to have all these books, okay, when we had
Mm-hmm.
but again, when I left and moved around, you know, some folks don't respect books, so they just didn't do anything with it, you know, threw them away, whatever. I
Mm.
had to reorder a bunch. Like I had the honor to meet and discuss things with Dr. Ivan Van Sertima.
Ashe.
Honor. He came to what's that church on Western? Oh my gosh. The one where everybody who's of some consciousness goes to. What was that church called?
Um.
On
Oh, I
Western.
can't. I
You know,
can't think of that. You know, I wasn't real big in the LA church
yeah,
community.
me either, but that was a
Yeah.
conscious place. That wasn't really even, I wouldn't even call it a church with Pastor Bird or what was his car?
Oh, that's Mary Carra. That's the yeah, the I can't think of the name of her
I
right
can't
now, but
either.
yeah, that was our place.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, Mary Cara. Let me look him up. Mary Cara Church. I can't remember the name.
The Crash Unity Center.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that was our jam, wasn't it?
Yeah, Caress Unity. I had an honor to work with him at one point too.
Yeah, what an honor.
Yeah, I got to teach kids. I was one of their tutors, one of their teachers. But let's see, there's some more comments happening. Okay, I want you to see this. Let's see. Star Coolio says Bob Marley's Zimbabwe. I didn't understand that.
Yeah, that's the song. He wrote the song Nati Dread I Liberate Zimbabwe. And that song was actually played during Zimbabwe's independence celebrations in 1980 when they had a revolution that overthrew the apartheid regime of Ian Smith. And that was at that time South Rhodesia became Zimbabwe. And Bob Marley, they put his portrait as they went into battle to win that liberation struggle. They put Bob Marley's portrait on the front of the tanks.
Wow. Look at this. It says, wow, this guy is awesome. Yes, he is. I'm telling you, we didn't even get to this dinner that's happening tomorrow. We got to get to that. Bomber 100. Yes, you are amazing. Yes, thank you
I
for.
say, I say, I'm grateful.
Let's see. You say there has to be a manual of herbs and spices and food groups pyramids for Africans because they have perverted everything. Then they created a destructive one for us. Oh, so you're saying like there's that table they give everybody, and then there's the actual pyramid of food that real like people really eat. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, if we're looking at our biophysical type, we are we have the biophysical structure of herbivore primates. We are not biologically meat eaters. The shape of our teeth, we don't have these big canines that can sever jugular veins when we chase down the species that we can't catch because predators tend to run on all fours, they're stealthy, or they fly. And if we were to jump on an antelope or a deer's back and bite his neck to do his jugular vein, the first thing we would say is, hey, hold still, let me take this alcohol and scrub you so that the parasites and bacteria on your neck don't kill me. And then, unlike meat eaters who just open up the belly and start with the guts and eating the intestines and stuff, we have to cook that meat to a core temperature of 140 to 175 degrees, or else the pathogens in that meat can kill us. Human beings are vegetarians, many of whom are having a meat eating experience. Unfortunately, it shortens their healthy lifespan.
So wait a minute. What about that? Okay, so there's this book, Eat Right for Your Blood Type, and I thought that because my certain so-called blood type. Okay, so you're saying,
Hey, listen, dogs have different blood types, just as do humans. Do dogs have to eat for their blood type, or do dogs eat what normally dogs eat? And because humans are now been responsible for feeding dogs in the last couple of decades, you're getting dogs with these chronic debilitating
right? Yeah,
diseases like cancer and cardiovascular disease. People
yeah,
spending thousands of dollars on keeping their dogs alive. We can empathize with that. A dog is a pet, becomes a member of the family,
yeah.
but at the same time, it ain't supposed to be that way. If they would let the dogs and cats eat what they nature gives them to eat, they would not be suffering these diseases like their human owners are
We
suffering.
can't find food on the block, Keidi. We can't find food on the block.
Well, if the block is in nature, where nature designed that block, the way nature designs a block, I mean, we had a coyote come into our yard. I live in Las Vegas on the
Oh my
lakeside
God.
property and found a duck in the yard. And he says, hey, duck, you and me, we got a date with destiny.
I, there's some more. Ooh, there's a bunch. Okay, here we go. All right. The Nation of Islam was hired by L. Why do people call me when they know I'm recording? Come on. All right. The Nation of Islam was hired by LA to police Ghost Town Venice after the riots. Cops wouldn't go there. Okay, that's true. They have probably one of the best security. Um, I've rescued thousands of books libraries throw away. I bought thousands to jails. That's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
The U.S. has done over 300 open air biological tests on uninformed public, i.e., Operation Sea Spray. I've never
Yeah,
heard.
I've written extensively about that. Several books I've
Okay.
written on human experimentation, one of which was a scandal that took place in the late 1980s in Los Angeles. It wasn't exposed until about 1996, and the book was called Outrage: How Babies Were Used in LA County Vaccine Experiments. And the nature of these experiments and this experimental vaccine that was injected into these babies without their parents in being informed consent was absolutely sinister. The same vaccine, Edmonston Zagreb live measles vaccine, had been used in Africa 3 years before they used it in LA County at three Kaiser Permanente hospitals.
Mm,
In one study that appeared in the British medical journal, The Lancet, October 1991, I'm going with my details.
come on.
This study, when used in Senegal, killed 1 out of every 13 babies that were injected with it, and it had a preference for killing female babies. This was literally an AIDS causing measles vaccine, and they got busted, they got caught, but nobody went to jail behind that.
You know, I remember when I was out there, when I was subbing, when I was teaching in the late 90s, that there was the whole oops, your child, like they would give all these kids free lunch and they would eat, like for example, this happened in a school in South Central. They gave a bunch of the kids let's say a Jello, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
the next, like a few days later they were like, oops, sorry folks, that Jello had hepatitis in it, so now we got to do all these, drug situations. Are you kidding? Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
there are layers and layers and layers to gross imbalance, deceit, subterfuge, bad practices, lies and deceit, manipulation, so many layers of it that it really becomes overwhelming. And when we become overwhelmed like that, Aldous Huxley said this in his book, the book Brave New World Revisited, that the mind goes on strike when these psychological stresses become so high. And then, like Pavlov's dogs, all they have to do is ring the bell and the desired programmed behavior naturally follows. So right now, people are overwhelmed. You got the threats of nuclear war, you got the threats of crime, the cost of food, the political hysteria and hype, threats of mass violence and riots taking place, racial wars taking place. It's overwhelming. No
Yes.
wonder people just want to smoke a joint, drink some alcohol, and watch TV and turn the brain off.
It's a fact. It's a fact. And eat fatty foods.
Yeah, but we're not going to be able to rebel and resist and win this great battle. One of the 3 books I have coming out, I think you're going to find this one fantastic. It's called Disaster Preparedness for World Wars 5 and 6. The subtitle, The Untold Story of How the Global Economic and Security Order is Shaping Up for the 21st Century. I said World Wars 5 and 6. We're already engaged in World War V, but most people don't recognize it because these disinformation sources are still speculating on World War III. World War III began in 1946. It's almost completely over now. That was a so-called Cold War, which was a hot war in, according to my research, 53 countries fought violent death-dealing activities during the so-called Cold War. World War IV was a global war against Islam. It's still going on. World War V I define as a global war of the corporate controllers against the workers' middle class. And it's a global war, and it's pretty hot. We did see 3 days ago, an executive for United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, was assassinated by a gunman with a silenced pistol, and he still has not been found or caught, was assassinated. In my mind, that is one of the many frontiers in the global war of the people versus the corporations. Now, it could have been the corporates were fighting with each other was why he got plugged, but I tell you, a lot of people are very angry at the healthcare infrastructure, what I call the pharmaceutical medical cartel, the way it has dominated our lives and taking our liberties and bankrupting families more than any other source. A lot of people are angry about World War V.
Teach. You know what? There was a book written probably 20 plus years ago. It was called like The Lone Wolf or something like that. And it was talking about how white men were creating or battling in war, but just it's not a group of people anymore. It's like a one-on-one situation, like what happened the other day with the guy with the United Health. They showed stills of the murderer, supposedly. He smiled at the camera. He gave a
Well, but he was wearing a face mask. So I don't know. I didn't spend a whole lot of time studying it. I did look at it and I read it into the record on my program because I say this is indicative that this hostility that is now having the grassroots people, the middle class has been trounced since the 1970s, middle class getting crushed while the wealthy gain wealth at the fastest rate ever since the early 20th century. That this was taking place and we should expect to see more of it. Don't be surprised when we see the people fighting back. And that's one of the reasons we see the wealthy class now starting to get these lands in very remote islands, places like New Zealand, and even building spaceships to go to Mars because they figure at a certain point, all the people they've exploited and abused on the planet are going to rise up against them and want to eat the flesh off of their bones.
They said that the people who were going to the meeting literally stepped over his body and kept going, and the meeting started like an hour later.
That sounds like New York.
Damn. Then they said, I mean, I read it in page 6. This is like the news, the regular stuff. They said they offered at first a $5,000 reward. Now it's just a $10,000 reward.
You know how much that man's annual salary was?
$10 million a year.
It was over $20 million in bonuses for the last year with his stock options and bonuses.
So
his salary was $10 million, but with the bonuses, it made it up over $20 million.
So I thought it was, the conversation has been wow. So they only pushed $10,000 to find the.
Well, that was a news media outlet. One of these Crime Stoppers shows did that. They only did that because that was their advertising budget.
Okay. Now here we go. There's more. All right. Peace. The Messenger 215 says blessings to the channel and chat. Okay. Keidi knows his stuff. Impressed. Duh. All right, here we go. The largest mammal is vegetarian, the elephant. Okay.
That's right. Hey, continue that. The largest vegetarian land mammal or herbivore is the African elephant. In my book, Living Superfood Longevity, I compared species. Which species lives longer, carnivores or herbivores? The largest carnivore is the polar bear. When you compare the African elephant lifespan to the polar bear, the African elephant has a 325% lifespan advantage. We compared reptiles, the crocodile versus the Galapagos tortoise lives to be 160 years old to the crocodile's 100. We compared bird species, the African gray parrot, strictly herbivore, vegetarian, versus the vulture in Africa. And the life expectancy difference across the board was always distinctly to the herbivore. So therefore, as a human being, I recognize that the herbivore lifestyle, fruitarian, vegetarian, vegan lifestyle gives me the best advantage for a healthy lifespan. I'm going to take that advantage. It's just a wise thing to do.
I was thinking, okay, and maybe I shouldn't ask people because they were all talking me out of it. But I was looking online, and there was like this 21-day juice fast I've been looking at, and I'm an older person now, middle age. It was being suggested to me that I should not do that, but I did not know.
You say was a 21-day juice fast?
Yeah, maybe I'll start with like a 3-day or 5-day. But I've been wanting to detox and I've had to take like asthma. What's that thing, the defibrillator thing this summer? And I want to get that medicine out of my body. Plus,
You can do it in 24 hours.
24 hours.
24-hour water fast. I was just doing this research earlier today. This is going to be in the upcoming book I'm writing on. One of the 3 books is called The Stem Cell Revolution, a holistic approach to stem cell activation, proliferation, and differentiation for optimal health and longevity. And I was just today reading a study from MIT University that talked about a 24-hour fast. Now, this was done on lab rats, but the same is true for humans. Resets the epithelial lining of the stomach so that within 24 hours, and the cells that line our stomach are the fastest growing cells in our body. They replicate themselves every 3 to 5 days. Just a 24-hour fast reset these cells, and it said it lowered the risk of antibody modulated autoimmune disease. Now, I kind of rephrase that language to make it a little simpler. There's a little different language you use in the literature, but in 24-hour water fast, you reset your gut microbiome, not your microbiome, but your gut epithelial lining, and it allows the nutrients to come into your body completely refreshed in just 24 hours. Okay. Now, if you want to do a 3-day 72-hour water fast, and we're going to be doing that beginning this Sunday with our group that's currently together, a 3-day water fast, the list of changes that goes through your body every 12 hours is just magnificent. You can reset an autoimmune disorder after 3 days of water fasting.
3 days. Okay. So it doesn't take all that. Okay. 3 days will do it. And
Yeah.
okay, so I'm okay. I'm so excited. Hold on. Let me.
Yeah, just go. You can even use YouTube, which I try not to recommend YouTube too much because they threw me out and
What?
they threw me out and disappeared some 2,000 videos I had put up in over 16 years. So I don't recommend them because that's the battle line. World War Five, the workers versus the corporations. They're the corporation. But you can even go to YouTube and look up the benefits of a 3-day water fast. It's pretty amazing what you'll see happens to your body in just 3 days of a water fast.
Okay, well, we're gonna work on that this week then. Okay,
Awesome.
okay. So these are a lot of the books. This ain't even all the books, y'all. I have this one, Living Superfood Recipes. I've done recipes from the book. They're delicious.
Yeah, that's the seminal book. That book really kind of the foundation of so much of what I do. That's my first collection of all all recipes. I had a second collection, volume 2, which became more of a gourmet book. In fact, tomorrow I'm doing a feast here featuring most of the recipes from volume 2.
Okay.
And then there's a third one, which is a combination of raw and cooked Living Superfood Recipes, volume 3. And then the book Transforming Soul Food for the Body, Mind, and Spirit, which had 25 of my favorite vegan soul food recipes. So, we're steadily adding to this wisdom base.
Okay, so I have Living Superfood Longevity. I have that book. Let's see. Rap Hip Hop, I'm reordering that. Let's see. The Repairing, I have that book. Need to get the 12 Universal Laws of Success.
Yeah, now that was from Herbert Harris. I contributed to the book, and he tagged me in it as it's up on Amazon. And Baba Herbert Harris is one of these fine influences in my life, my Jegnas, that I'm so very proud to know him.
Living Superfood 2, Volume 2. And I must say, let me go here. So was it 2 years ago? 3 years ago, my ex-husband and I went to your amazing 7-course meal.
Was that 7-course? I don't know why I was so chintzy. Was that the first Saturday feast?
It wasn't the first, but it was.
Okay, you just came by and were our guest. Because the first Saturday feast I do once every month, the first Saturday of the month, that's going to be tomorrow. And to serve 7 courses is very unlike me. That just sounds like just an ordinary day.
We ate a lot of different plates of food. I remember that.
Yeah. Most of the time on the first Saturday, I started out, I would do like 15 or 16. Then it got up to consistently about 25 to 35 dishes in one meal. And then once a year, I would do the Living Super Feast. So the first Saturday in September was a super feast. The first one I did was 34. The second one I did was 42. The last super feast I did was 54 dishes in one meal.
It was a lot, y'all. And you get full. You don't think you get full off all that. It was all tasty and delicious. And then all the different types of people that were there. Now,
that's right.
I know everybody across the world, but it just so happened I knew a few people at this event, but it's just beautiful. You have
That's right.
Do you have a certain amount of people that can make reservations?
I've taken up to 22 people at one of the feasts. Because of the pandemic, it scared a lot of people off, and a lot of rhythms and patterns. We had been doing that for years. It kind of broke off, and then I had a period where I had to give up that house and move to a much smaller place, and I didn't have access to the kitchen. Now I'm in a house here, a beautiful lakefront property here. In fact, you're coming tomorrow, right?
I would love to. I had planned.
There you go. You are coming tomorrow.
I didn't make a reservation yet, but I would like to.
We just made the reservation. You're going to be my guest.
Thank you. I would be honored. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And so if you wanted to get some of the books, you can always do that. But for the dinner, you're going to be my guest. But it's a beautiful lakeside front. The kitchen is just stunning. It's a gorgeous kitchen. So I'm back in my rhythm. I'm back to making on my second YouTube channel or on my Rumble channel. I'm back to making these videos, showing the people we do what we do and giving the people a chance to take charge of their health and wellness lifestyle and lifespan. And tomorrow, I'm going to explain to the people about the new book on stem cell rejuvenation, how we can add a minimum of 30 healthy years to our lifespan by understanding it's all about nutrition in the first place.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, when you mention the term stem cell, all I think of him is Henrietta Lacks. What do you mean when you're saying stem cell? You're saying, you make it sounding like it's accessible to everybody. What do you
Yes. Now with Henrietta Lacks, it was a ovarian cancer stem cell. But for all of us, every minute that you and I have been talking, every minute your body manufactured 300 million new cells. Every minute of every hour of every day. Now these new cells are being manufactured from stem cells, which there are two, and this is a little bit complicated. I have a long glossary, 2 pages of glossary, just to explain to people the language you're going to be using now in understanding this. But there are basically 2 types of cells. There are embryonic stem cells, which when an egg and a sperm join together, and from that moment, it's nothing but stem cells. And those are what are called pluripotent. They can differentiate into any type of cell that the body needs as the fetus grows into a whole human. Once we have been born, then we have what are called adult stem cells, which diminish much in number, but an adult stem cell can differentiate into as many as 200 different types of cells throughout the body. What we have discovered now is that this is designed by the body, and we have a whole long list of natural processes that we can stimulate, stem cell, activate, proliferate, and differentiate them using food, nutrition, supplements, exercise, rest, all of these good things of lifestyle. And right now, the medical industry is cashing in on stem cell therapies. The cheapest stem cell therapies for like arthritis or joints or simple things might cost $5,000 to $25,000. For sickle cell stem cell treatment costs between $100,000 and $300,000. The most expensive stem cell therapy known costs $2.1 to $2.9 million for a one-time treatment. We can do it now with just a 24-hour water fast.
I shall be doing that this week. Now, is that in the same family of intermittent fasting?
Yes, absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt. During my 53 days of this program, I am confining all of my eating to a 6-hour window. It opens at noon and it closes at 6 p.m. If I shift it a little bit, it can shift a little bit, but I confine all my eating to 6 hours, so there's 18 hours where my body is not going through the stress of processing, digesting food, and that enhances stem cell activation, proliferation, differentiation. You can validate that. There's 2 things that are working right there. One is fasting. There's 3 things. There's fasting, but there's also caloric restriction, CR, and the third one is intermittent fasting. All of 3 of them, look them up with a good quality AI search engine, and all 3 of them are related to the integrity of stem cell development. It's a miracle.
My mother's been doing that. She won't eat after 4 p.m. And
How's your mother's health? I bet she's pretty spectacular.
74, and she still be running around.
There you go.
But she won't eat after 4 p.m. and she only eats 1 meal a day.
Yeah. Well, I will eat a series of small meals, and then if I'm going to have one big meal, I have one big meal that finishes at 6 o'clock. That gives me several hours before I have to go to bed, and so I don't go to bed trying to digest a heavy late meal, which we know is disastrous for our health.
Really? I was just about to try to finish my dinner late. I guess I'll wait.
If you're going to eat after 6 or after 8 p.m., make it fresh, raw fruit, or make it a light salad. Raw vegetables tend to digest much faster, And they also, because of the fiber content, will help to push food through the digestive tract so you're not burdening your digestive tract. With people who want to eat like some steak or bread or something like that late at night, man, that can be in you for 3 days.
I had no idea. I had no idea. Now there's this Japanese lady I met at the workout place, and she said she was like 50 or 60 something. I promise you, looked no older than like 30, 35. And what she told me was what you just said. She says she eats a meal before like 4 or 5, and she'll just
Mm-hmm.
drink a smoothie
Mm-hmm.
in the evening, and that's it. She's like, I just drink a smoothie. That's
That's
it.
right. And tomorrow, I'm going to be featuring a smoothie that's proprietary. I'm holding this one real close to my chest. I'm going to serve it to people. I'm not, well, you'll see what goes in it, but I keeping it kind of close to my chest. They call this Rejuve smoothie. This one reverses the aging process. I tried it out on myself. 56 days I did back in March 2021. I have a before picture and an after picture. And you can see there's a pretty significant
Wow.
difference. That's 2 lunar cycles, the before picture and after picture. So this time I'm doing it with a group of people. And I told everybody, be real deliberate, real strict about the way you're taking your picture. Because these photographs are going to be evidence we're going to use to prove to the world, yes, this is the fountain of youth that everybody's been talking about for so many years. We now have it. Now, what are we going to do with it?
Well, I'll definitely be there. I want to promote that real quick. So if you're ever in the Las Vegas area and you don't want to eat all the junk that's on the strip, and it happens
Mm.
the first week of the month on a Saturday, Brother Keith
Mm-hmm.
has these really nice meals, you guys, and you can come, you can call and make a reservation, and you pay a certain fee, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does that. We do have to pay for the food. The food got very expensive during the pandemic. It was
Yeah.
shockingly expensive,
Yeah.
while the number of people showing up for the dinners dropped. So we're reestablishing, rebalancing. We're in survival mode, people, and quite simply, we're going to have to stop losing ground to the medical pharmaceutical drug cartel complex, which has become the number one cause of family bankruptcy in America.
It's a fact. They really were putting out a lot of facts when this guy was murdered the other day. They were talking about
Mm-hmm.
how a lot of the so-called middle class, that's the number one struggle. We're paying off these very expensive medical bills
Yeah, while Brian Thompson is making $20 million a
a
year.
year, a year. And then the bullets had phrases on them, which was similar to the name of this book that was talking about how the health industry, the health insurance, the insurance industry really hustles people a lot. So this is it's going to be a very interesting time. 2024 was a trip. 2025, we're about 3 weeks away. I can only see it exploding even more. Like I don't see anything but just more radical behaviors happening.
What I do want to let people know, there is a bright light rising on the horizon. It's called Africa Rising. I've written a book on that title, Africa Rising. The dawn is breaking in the east. Africa now owns the bulk of the rest of the 21st century. It's still in flux, but by 2050, we're going to see the consolidation of the African Union into a solid continental federated state. At that point, Africa owns the future, especially when you consider that the youngest nations on the planet are African nations. There are actually, it shocked me. I thought it was 9 countries in the world, but now it is apparently as many as 50 countries, 53 countries in the world with shrinking populations. That means they're aging out as well. They're losing their dynamic workforce, and the support ratio for the elders and the children in the nation is diminishing. Japan has really been hit hard by falling population,
Germany
but this
too,
is
right? Yeah. I'm sorry.
Germany, Japan, South Korea is right on the brink. There's a bunch of European nations, some of them very small, with shrinking populations and aging populations. United States has hedged its bet by creating this classification called Hispanics. It is the women of Latin American heritage coming into the United States that are keeping up the birth rate to sustain the United States, although economic power is fading away very fast because people are tired of being manipulated and bamboozled and run around by the power of the US dollar, and they're fighting back against that. That's a whole nother book. That's in the book Disaster Preparedness for World Wars 5 and 6. That actually constitutes the opening salvos of World War 6, the de-dollarization of global economy.
Teach the de-dollarization. Did y'all hear that language? And and you know, these things have been theorized and talked about for at least 20, 25 years. But to see it actually appearing to come into fruition is really heavy in real time. But I like how you said there is a light at the end of this tunnel. So
that is.
So it won't become like I've been hearing the term dystopia used around the last couple of days because of this lone wolf situation with the health guy. So it is refreshing to hear someone say there is a light at the end. And then I'm not going to front the whole Diddy, Jay-Z thing. Now, I never looked at Diddy as some hero or role model, but he is one of my hip hop peers, I felt, among others. And to learn that.
When you say peers, you mean peers like age group collaborators, or did you mean PEE, peers, people who pee on other people?
Well, all I meant was because, you know, I worked with Puffy before. I've done over 120 some odd music videos. So I worked with people, and I worked with him. I didn't get invited to any parties. Oh, yes, I did. I actually did get invited.
Your secret's safe with me.
God. But I didn't go. You know, it was actually, I worked with him on Hold Me Down with Mace. But then when I was on the set of Biggie's last music video, and they invited me to go to that vibe party that night. The jealous boy, and he did not want me to go. He thought that I sounded like a groupie, so I didn't go. And I'm so glad I didn't. Okay, I do not want to be traumatized rolling out with Biggie and he getting you know that
was the weekend he was killed in the Peterson Museum.
Yeah, they invited me. The guys, Biggie and the bad boy people invited me because I was showing interest in wanting to write for them at the time. I wanted to be like a script writer at the time. And they were really open to me, you know, and they were like, come meet us at blah, blah hotel. We're going to roll out, blah, blah, blah.
Now, did you go to the Peterson Museum that evening for the event?
I didn't go anywhere because the boy I was dating was jealous. And I just stayed with him that evening. So because I didn't want to make him jealous, even though
he saved your life, huh?
He really did.
Well, he saved your spirit.
Everything.
From being assaulted like that.
I'm telling you, I would not have wanted to be. I don't know which truck I would have been rolling in with. You know what I mean? I would not want that trauma. I wouldn't have wanted to. Just like what's another one? You know, when I used to roll out with Snoop Dogg and Warren G and all them, I never allowed myself to get seen on camera with them because I had just learned about COINTELPRO and all that back then, and I used to tell them we're being followed. You must know we're being followed at all times. You got to know that. They had no clue. They hadn't even think about that. Or maybe they was faking in front of me. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. Some of them knew, but they couldn't tell what they knew because they had done that blood oath. Word. Hey, listen, we've talked about so many things. Okay, yes. I just want to remind people to help you, help us all, by helping you to keep this platform open. If there's a support system that you need from the listeners, they need to step up and do their part. If nothing else, inform other people to tune in, listen, to hear these type of dialogues. And if they can support monetarily, that takes it to the next level. We can all grow in that.
Yeah, I don't get paid for these, y'all. I really don't. And Brother Keidi, where can people, okay, I know about LIB Radio, but where can people call you, reach out to you, come to these wonderful dinners? I mean, I'm telling you, the spread was spread, y'all. And it was, and then you don't just eat, of course. You have this great conversation with Brother Keidi and all the other people. I don't know where these folks come from, but
there's some awesome people, aren't they?
Yes.
And you're one of the awesome people.
Thank you. And it's just a great time. So I want to type that in because I know it's going into the second. It's the second hour.
Well, they can text me at 702-580-0662. Text me. Don't call that number. If you call the number, it's not going to be answered. But if you text me, I'll get right back at you. Love to interface with you. They can always find my books at Keidi, Keidi.biz, where you're going to find the bulk of my books. But if you go to a place like Amazon or Barnes and Nobles, even Walmart online, you're going to be able to see my books from the series of the Conscious Rasta reports. And it's just an honor. It's a pleasure to be a part of a generational dynamic, to be a major contributor and to be acknowledged as peers to some of the greatest minds of a generation.
Absolutely.
There's a word called Ubuntu. We have from our Zulu South African brothers. Ubuntu means I am because we are. That's who we are.
I'm writing this stuff down. I know this stuff, but I just sometimes I have so much stuff in this head. All right, Keidi.biz. Please support him. He has so many books that are all helpful for every part, your mind, your body, your spirit. I'm just
and your politics and your revolutionary politics.
Everything. You're a walking, dare I say, Imhotep. Like, dare I say that? Like,
I receive that in the beautiful spirit with which you share it, beloved.
Absolutely. Now, I will throw my Cash App up here. I feel weird doing that, but I really am not going to front. If you've been enjoying this entertainment, please donate to my Cash App. I don't get paid for this. I don't do it for the money.
Mm-hmm.
Reciprocity is awesome. And what I probably am going to do is going to donate it to the event tomorrow anyway. So if you'd like to donate, that'd be a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, the donation will help you to build back up your book collection. And I've got some great ones for you, beloved.
Yeah, here's something. So we had a conversation. Okay, what do you think this? Ciao.
The Book of the Law, what's the subtitle?
It's in Latin. Liber Albel Legis. Aleister Crowley. I ordered this.
Or Aleister Crowley? Ooh, that's a topic for another discussion. Aleister Crowley is one of the key figures to bring the occult into the modern era. Aleister Crowley is a bridge to the extension of Kabbalism, occultism, Satanism, Luciferianism. When we look at some of these key figures around history, Aleister Crowley is one of them. Ooh, I have some stories to tell about that because they tried to recruit me. And in my book, Rap, Hip Hop, and the New World, no, not that book. In my book, The Road to Power, Chapter 5 was called 666, The Internet and the Rise of the Antichrist.
I remember
and
that.
Aleister Crowley fit very much into that chapter of that evolution. And again, they tried to recruit me. 2 times I met with these people in New York City. But the first time I met him was a curiosity thing. Then when I realized what was going on and I confirmed this is real, I went back a second time because this is at the beginning of the internet media revolution, and I witnessed something in their operation I wanted to come back and replicate for our community, and that was the birth of Black Star Media and LIB Radio.
LIB Radio. That is so. Brother Keidi has had his own radio show for quite a bit as well. So this man, awesome. I know I don't want to hold you up too long because I've done hours. Okay, you see how it is. It's not.
Yeah. Hard. Oh, I've been there many, many times. I know it's hard to let go of these conversations. Can we commit to doing it again? Maybe you'll join me on my show the next time we can do this again.
I would love to. I want to conclude with just, people in America, being poor makes you sick, being sick makes you poor. Medical bills are the number one reason for bankruptcy in the U.S. And then his phone number is 702.
And that's the number one reason for household bankruptcy, to clarify that.
Household bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could totally expand on another day about, you have, not transhumanism, no, that's not that. It's a book you wrote ahead of its time again, but I think it dealt with Zionism and stuff like that. That's a whole nother.
There was one called Moving Beyond Racism, which talks about these doctrines, these isms, and how we are caught up in an ism not of our own creation. And the subtitle of that book was New Strategies for a New Millennium. So that one came out at the end of the 20th century. We
That's
needed
it.
to stop responding, reacting to "I'm a racist, you're a racist, he's a, she's a." That's tired and it doesn't lead to anything.
Right. Right. Well, okay. So tomorrow, y'all, if you're able, if you're in the Las Vegas area, or if you come to, if you plan to come during Christmas break, no, it's
Hmm.
first Saturday of every
That's the
month.
first Saturday. That's right. So if they text me at that number, I'll be looking out. We're going to be starting at 5 p.m. Saturday the 7th. So you're going to have a feast. It's going to be pretty awesome. I'm preparing the food all day today and tomorrow. And we're always looking for new people to bring into our circle. Come with an honest heart, and you will find your family in a peaceful place.
And an empty stomach, because boy, you will be eating. I tell you, I did not expect to get full. I was like, yeah.
That's
Oh my
right.
God, I was so okay. Thank you, Brother Keidi. I really appreciate you. You all can also listen to this on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Music, Anchor.fm, YouTube, of course, Instagram, and Facebook. We are live on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube right now. And thank you guys for paying attention. I hope you learned some things, and I hope you rewind and write the name of these books down. These are life-changing books. Life-changing.
Ashe.
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 Thank
Ashe,
you.
yo. Peace and beloved.
Brother Keidi Obi Awadu. Okay. Remember that name. Author, researcher, vegan chef, griot, philosopher, scientist, teacher. Thank you.
Peace
All
and
right.
prosperity.
Thank you so much. I'm going to close out with the song. So if you want to, yeah, he already been clicked out. All right. The man is 69 years old. He got to go back to get doing what he got to do. Plus, he's got to prepare for tomorrow. So I'm just gonna play a song for us. You know how I do, play my little music, and then we're gonna be out of here. Let's see what you're talking about. Let's see. Black Sabbath. Ozzy did song for Mr. Is that right? I did not know that. Awesome interview. Very impressed. Thank you for joining with us, a star for Coolio. And Brother Keidi, I see you backstage. I wanted to just let you know, thank you. I'm going to call you, or is it good to call? No, it's not good to call. Okay. I'll reach out after I do this close out. But Brother Keidi, click on out. I don't know if you want to hear the song or not, but I'm gonna play my music, because if I don't promote myself, who's gonna promote me? Okay. So here we go. I was feeling, I can't play it. I'm on my teacher laptop. I can't. So on that note, we're out of here. This is the Tommy Cole Show. I will be back. I don't know when, probably tomorrow or Sunday. I'm gonna do like current events and stuff like that, and just have you guys communicate. You know what? What time is it? It's about what? 10 o'clock? It's 10:10. We're gonna shut it down now, and I might come back in like an hour or so and do another one. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much. Please support Brother Keidi. He is so brilliant. We must get this information out. We got to get these books out. And also call 702-580-0662 and text. You can go to keidi.biz. That's KEIDI.biz. And of course, all of this information is on Amazon and Walmart, etc. All right. So on that note, thank you so much for tuning in. And definitely check out all my other really, really great podcasts. I have a lot of interviews with a lot of West Coast legends. They were all underground. Okay. They was not at the Diddy parties. Thank you. But they're brilliant. I mean, just anybody you can think of, I've interviewed, and I'm still interviewing. All right. Most recently, I interviewed Pigeon John. And just, I mean, there's just so much going on. Also, at the end of December, Project Blow, which is LA underground hip hop, a group of people, AC Alone, Abstract Rude, Micah 9, Medusa, etc. We do what they call a Project Blowed anniversary show. That is every year. We've been getting together since 1995. Okay, I went to the very first one with Skilo. Remember Skilo? I wish I was a little bit taller. I went with Skilo and Funky and Trend. We all went up there, and now it's 2024. So this is going to be like, is it the 30th anniversary or the 29th? I can't remember. So, but that's going down in Los Angeles at the El Rey. You can get more information about that on my Tamiko show on Instagram, or you could go to Project Blowed LA, Project Blowed MCs LA, and they'll have more information about that. I'm trying to get Abstract Rude on here. I've been wanting them on here for a minute now. Last year we had Micah 9 and Zulu. This year I want to get Abstract Rude. Be great to get AC Alone or Jupiter. Ooh, peace would be a dream, but we'll see what happens. All right, y'all. Let me see what you're saying right here. I'll be posting some videos of Coolio soon. Hopefully you're. Oh, do I know you? A star for Coolio? Can you hit me up? I would leave my number in here, but I don't want people calling me like that. But I want you to reach out to me and let me get your phone number or something. I want to know if do I know you? Do you know me? I don't know. Let's get out of here though. Let's get out of here. Hit me up, okay, on the Instagram, in the DM, and let's chat. A star for Coolio. All right. Much love and respect to everybody out there. And thank you for joining me tonight. All right. Peace.